So we're talking about significance, which people, get, but it's hard to maybe do it today. So this topic is going to be something we'll call creating urgency. A friend of mine who was overweight, probably about 90 pounds overweight, was a diabetic, and they said, okay, take this medication. He said, sweet, you got to love a pill. And he took that pill for like, 15 years. And then the doctor calls him in and says, your organs are shutting down. He said, what? Yeah, your organs are shutting down. What can be done? Well, nothing really can be done, unless we try this extreme diet for a week. And he did it for a couple of weeks. And of course, this has been maybe 18 months. And now he's lost, I would say 60 pounds. He looks great. And what his solution I thought was really interesting. He said, I knew I could not do it alone. So I prayed about it and said, God, you're going to have to do this. Jim, you work with people in all kinds of stages in life, and we're trying to help them before it becomes a crisis, before it becomes urgent. How do we get people to, create urgency before the crisis comes? Have you have any thoughts on that?
Many times people won't do anything because they don't want to. And that's my younger self thought that I could probably change anyone, but that's not true. But I think the approach you take, the way that you lay it out before them makes a difference. We really do most things, we struggle most for self, right? Until it becomes bigger than us and we're doing it for someone else.
Mhm.
Um,
Who are we going to do this for? Hmm.
yeah, I, I say this to myself all the time at 55. I'm passionate. I've got good vigor, but I need a nap once in a while. I'm not 45 or 35, but to surrender to that and be okay to
Once in a while.
once in a while. But the truth of it is to quit trying to be and realize that like to let go a little bit, right? But here's the thing. If I did not have children or I didn't have a purpose in my work, I very easily would just say, I'm not going to read that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to put the extra mile in. No, I serve something bigger than myself. And I don't
Yeah,
even know
that's
who's listening to this, but I probably will talk to somebody listening to this in a month and I'll be like, well, that was God's plan. And I believe that God had work for me to do. And I'm going to get up and I'm going to do it. So I think the source we're connected to matters,
I,
right?
I did a funeral for a guy. He was approximately my age, and I went to his house. It was a small house, kind of barren, kind of dusty, big screen TV, mini fridge next to the couch, and like a cheap kind of chrome dinette set that he probably got at a garage sale for $100, stacked with newspapers and pizza boxes. And and I looked around and I thought, this is me. If it was just me, and he was a bachelor, if it was just me, I would be very happy with this. But because I became a husband and a dad, this was not enough. So I improved myself, went through some issues, always fear and confidence, the things we talk about. And I did it for them. And that brought to mind, as people, we talk about how expensive it is to raise children and all the sacrifices we make for our spouses and maybe the crabby stories we tell. But they make us want to be better because we're doing it for them. Talk about with somebody too, because that's equally as important. Who you're going to do it with?
Anything that has energy to it usually has moving parts, right? And so where two or three come together and have energy, we start looking at each other and we start having a little more fun, a little bit more, let's go get this. Your master class has not really been about you. You're going to look at your giftings, your things, and then I'm going to ask you to sit still and pair yourself up with people that have the other giftings, in which then you see you don't have to carry the weight. You just got to do your part. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, no, that is fun,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Um, that gentleman said he surrendered. I want to add to that, Jeff. Man, when I was younger, what's this going to God and surrender thing? That, like really, like, I want to simplify it for people. Drinking, smoking, eating sugar. I don't make a thousand reasons you got problems. I love sugar. And then my brain says, well, you're not giving up pie. You're not giving up. I mean, that's, you're going to take all the fun out of life. That's my fun. I'm not doing it. That's not what God said when he said surrender. He just said, you keep trying to do it by yourself and you're not winning. So the minute you just say, I can't do it by myself, and you kind of settle down, this cloud lifts over you and you realize that he didn't say he was going to remove everything. He's going to kind of clean up the way you see it.
Hmm.
And then you stop thinking of yourself and your weight, and you start thinking about your kids and your grandkids, and you start thinking, okay, my son was trying to tell me he wants me around to see his grandkids, his kids, your grandkids. Got it. I can still have ice cream with them. I can have two bites and not an extra large serving. And then it just doesn't control you anymore. And it's freeing, but it's not as hard as you make it.
Really counterintuitive. It is freeing to surrender. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, it's super counterintuitive. Yeah, I just want to lose 50 pounds. Well, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and then everything will be added to you. Well, that's not what I want. Let me lose the weight and then I'll do it. All I got to do is get to $1 million and then my life is made. Seek ye first the kingdom of God. Well, I don't want to do that. And that is probably the verse that is that's where you start. How do you find wisdom? You get wisdom. That's one of the proverbs. I'm misapplying it or misquoting it, but that really is the point. And I guess the other point is why wait? Why wait till there's an urgency, a crisis of money, a crisis of relationship, a crisis of health? You see where the train's going. Why not pretend you're there already and pretend the crisis is already upon you and then just fix it, right?
Yes.
Well, the time flies on these things, so we're just going to let you go. If you have any questions, reach out to us. We're happy to answer them for you. In the meantime, I'm Jeff Gould.
And I'm Jim Riefenberger.
God bless.